If you want to change Kenya, start with you. Join the Youth Parliament of Kenya today. Imagine being at the forefront of change where your ideas drive progress. The Youth Parliament of Kenya is your gateway to influence policies and make a lasting impact on our nation.
Thank you so very much. In just a minute, I'll be putting video on. Yeah, so this is me, Benjamin Pascal. Nabwana is also actually the name that is giving you a difficult time to pronounce. Yeah, so I'm really grateful for the opportunity this afternoon to speak to us. And this is an incredible opportunity and the space that we have as young people across Africa to just come together and do share quite a lot on what needs to be done at this particular moment, because for a long period, we have been having these conversations, these dialogues. Trust me, this summit is not the first one, and probably might not be the last one. But what we take pride in is that we are having these conversations, and we keep having them so that we can be able to attain what we really want to see, and that is change in our communities. And that change also does include making sure that young people are actually involved. They are stakeholders to be part of the decisions that are made. These decisions are those ones that actually does impact their lives. So I'm sharing briefly. I have quite a lot to talk about, but because of time, I will try to see how I can be able to make these short. So I was given to touch on youth-led policy frameworks in the digital age. So for my end, I'm looking at that, and I've added something which reads building the table and not just waiting for a seat. So fellow youth leaders, brothers and sisters of Africa, I greet you with hope, not the passive kind, but the kind that burns into actions, to solutions and to policy, because for too long, summits like these ones have been able to give us space to speak. But the problem has been not to act. This means we've gathered, we've done recommendations with them. We have actually done, we have envisioned, but oftenly we've not been able to implement. Or if we have, then there has been something somewhere that has actually not been able to work properly. And my wish through this summit, with everything that we've really discussed about, is that we have these come to an end. So quickly, let me just briefly touch on understanding youth-led policy frameworks in the digital age. That is a wholesome word, or rather it appears to be a statement, but to simplify it, it's just basically a youth-led policy framework, which means young people are not just stakeholders, but they are architects, meaning they set the agenda, they develop solutions, and they actually implement them. So the digital age has moved people that we call gatekeepers. You know, we had to go through someone for anything that we are trying to advocate for to actually go through. And nowadays, through technology, we can crowdsource ideas, we can mobilize at scale, and even draft and push legislation using platforms like change.org. I believe you guys have come across it, where people come up with petitions and they garner the people's support and push for these reforms to actually happen. We have tools like open governance tools. We have platforms like WhatsApp groups. We have social media movements. And we also are having virtual parliaments. This is where also the Youth Parliament of Kenya, the organization that I work with, has been able to see across the African continent, where young people are actually taking shape to charter their own cause. We have the Ghana Youth Parliament, we have Nigerian Youth Parliament. I think Eli will agree with me on that. And so basically, we are taking that opportunity because the gatekeepers have been removed, and that is because of the digital age. Now, When we talk about youth policy-led frameworks, it's very important for us to understand that a framework is more than a moment because it has to have certain elements. And I'm going to mention 4 elements that makes up a framework. Number 1 is that a policy framework needs to be structured. That means it needs to be with defined processes for input, for revision, and for action. The second element of it is that it needs to be localized. That means it must be relevant to our counties, our communities, the cities that we live in, and also nations at large. And number 3 element is that it has to be scalable, meaning it must be designed to replicate and adapt across borders. If you come up with a policy framework, let it be something that can work across borders, not just limited within a particular scope. The 4th element is that that framework has to be accountable. That means it has to be built with tracking, with transparency, and with civic pressure tools. Now, let me just mention within a minute the crisis of policy summits that end up without actions. Across Africa, as I've mentioned, thousands of youth summits are hosted each year. But my question is, how many result in, number 1, national bills? How many of those summits result in budget allocations? And how many of those result in institutional reforms? Not just resulting in, but also actions that eventually gets implemented. So the problem is not that we are not speaking. It's that there is no continuity, okay? There is no consistent follow-up mechanism and no youth-led body demanding executions. And if there were, please forgive me, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The fact that we are still having this conversation means that something was meant to work, but it did not. Now, the truth is we've been treated, especially young people, we've been treated as guests in spaces where we should be hosts. But a guest, as you know, cannot dictate the menu they are offered. They just consume what they are given. That's why youth across Africa have started building their own tables. Now, I'm going to mention a case study of what has happened within youth-led policy. In the year 2012, in Senegal, a group of youth activists, journalists, and rappers, like right now in this particular summit, we have Octopizzo from Kenya who will also be speaking probably. This particular group of young individuals formed what they call it Yen Amar. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the basic interpretation of it meant we are fed up during the 2012 elections. What they did is that they utilized music, digital platforms, and street mobilization to raise political awareness, getting young people to register and vote, and pressure politicians to actually adhere to what was needed to be changed. Now, the outcome of that, what happened was that there were over 300,000 new youth voters that were registered. They also pressured leadership to influence the public policy. And they sustained the engagement, not just to that election period, but after the elections, that continued having the youth-led policy framework implementation, and also had what we call the policy watchdogs. So the Senegalese youth didn't wait to be consulted. They consulted each other. That is why many of us in different countries across Africa, we have one specific problem. We are always saying that we have been we have been excluded from the table that has discussions and negotiations of very impactful policies, things that are spoken and deliberated and implemented, yet they directly affect us, but we are not on that particular table to contribute towards it. So these young people did not wait to be consulted. They did consult among each other, just like we are doing. they decided to create the movement that could not be ignored. So from a Kenyan perspective and what we are doing at the Youth Parliament of Kenya, which is a fast rising national youth formed and youth-led movement, this is not just talking about change. What we are doing is that we are organizing for change. Now, what we are doing with the Youth Parliament of Kenya, number one, looking at the structure of governance that we have, we are simulating exactly what we do have in the national governance. But what we are doing through that is to simulate legislative processes for young people, because we want to have young people get the practical aspect of policy making when they are ready to do it. Number two, we are drafting policy recommendations, and I've been working on that alongside some other leaders in the Youth Parliament of Kenya, because we want to make sure that youth participation in politics, mental health, job creation, leadership and governance, smart farming and climate change, and digital inclusion is done from the youth perspective. We have seen what the government has done, and we really appreciate the contributions that it has made. But to be able to achieve what we have has got to take more than just the government. We need everyone on board. And that's why we as young people are offering ourselves through the Youth Parliament of Kenya to steer and charter that cause and pray that we get all the young people to come on board and push for this. The third thing we are doing in the Youth Parliament of Kenya is to engage relevant government agencies. And in the past few months, we have actually done that. For example, we've gone to one of the government agencies called NACADA. This is it deals with drug enforcement issues, and on this, what we're trying to achieve here is to make sure that we have whatever we come up from the youth-led policy frameworks. We want these ones to be adopted by these government agencies, because in as much as they are doing their research, putting their work, resources into it, the people that are being affected by these are as young people. And we have the reach to the grassroots, and we understand if there are solutions to be implemented, to get solutions, to get these particular challenges addressed, then they need to be customized to actually something that is effective enough. Sitting at the boardrooms and planning without including the grassroots is not actually resulting in anything impactful, and that's what we are working on. The second government agency that we have approached is the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, on matters of ethnic alliances. As you all know, right now, the country, Kenya, is moving towards the next election period. And if you've been watching what has been happening in the political climate, there is what we call political polarization. And this is not just amongst the old folks, it's coming down, trickling to the young population. And this one undermines the peace efforts that we need to actually have. So at YPK, we have already built a structure from the national level all the way to the grassroots to make it easier to start engagements even as we get close to 2027, which is believed to be a year that defines what becomes of this nation of Kenya. The last thing that we are doing is training young leaders who are keen on becoming representatives in the parliament, national parliament, to be able to learn how debates happen, how to deliberate, and how to develop real solutions. And one of the most amazing things that the Youth Parliament of Kenya is keen on is that we have chosen to work on 8 areas of focus. And all of these are actually tied to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And so we are building a culture of civic responsibility so that when these particular young people get opportunities or chances of getting into the August House, they know by heart what they need to do. But we are also moving away from simulation to action. And this is what I'm emphasizing on, that in this summit, as we come to an end of it, we need to move beyond the conversations. We need to actually now move into actions. So we are working on a youth advisory bill to institutionalize the youth representation from across the 47 counties in our country. So we are using social media, we are coming up with webinars and digital petitions to build support across Kenya. Now, our target after the official launch of the Youth Parliament of Kenya, which is set in this August of 2025, and I hope, Ellie, we will reach out and invite you, and we hope that you actually come down, is to rally a following of about 200,000 young people by October of 2025. And we want to scale that number higher up by 500,000 by December of 2025. So hopefully by 2027, what we are aiming at is having this number rise to about 2 million. One of the most efficient ways to see results is to rally youth for signatures and push for reforms. Just like I've mentioned, one of the tools is thechange.org, where many petitions are put there. So this is what I mean by us taking actions and not just talking about it, right? You put in the work, the energy, and bring young people together for a cause. And when you look through the policy frameworks that are not working, how can we work on ratifying these? And then how do we put it into action to eventually get the results that we want to see? So what can we do to scale up across Africa? Because this is the biggest question. This conversation is not just about Kenya, but now about Africa, across Africa. Now, what I'm advocating for is that we need to turn these ideas into action. And here's what we must certainly and collectively do. Ellie and the rest of the leaders that are here, the number one thing that I'm advocating for is that I believe there are some that have already happened, but because this is AYES, and we want now to utilize this particular platform to actually work on something that is impactful. Number one, I'm looking at us establishing national youth digital policy hubs. Now, these youth-led digital platforms in each country will help to gather real-time feedback and therefore co-create bills with policymakers. And number two, I'm looking at us lobbying for youth policy inclusion laws. So just like the National Youth Councils, we must also advocate for legal frameworks and mandate the youth consultation in policy making. And I'm so grateful because Ellie and the team, this is where you guys are really, really good at. You've already created a platform across Africa, and this is where we can actually utilize that particular opportunity to be able to achieve this. Number three, I'm looking at us creating a Pan-African youth policy coalition, meaning let us get connected from the Youth Parliament of Kenya to Nigerian, to the Ghanaian, to any other organizations that is pushing for this, with similar other organizations in Uganda, Senegal, Ghana, South Africa, and let us create a continental platform for coordinated advocacy. We also, number four, need to leverage AI, open data, and tech, because using these tools that I've mentioned in policy simulation and blockchain accountability helps us to track and measure implementation and public trust. And the last thing I'm talking about is us engaging the grassroots, because Ellie and leaders across Africa, we cannot, there is no framework that will succeed if it does not touch the young people in the villages, the young people in the grassroots. So it's not just the youth in the capitals, but also the young people in the villages. So as I bring this to a conclusion, what I want to conclude with is that is to say that we, the youth of Africa, are not a problem to be solved. We are not. We are the solution waiting to be trusted. And that trust has not been there for a very long time with the leaders who are already in place. So this digital age gives us the tool our forebearers never had. So we need not to waste this opportunity. Let us draft, let us act, and let us demand. So let this not just be another summit where we only speak. Let this be the summit where we begin to build tables locally, nationally, continentally, because youth-led policy frameworks, they are not dreams anymore, my friends. They are drafts, they are documents, they are debates, and they are decisions that are waiting to be implemented. That's my time. Thank you so much, Ellie. The mic is back to you.
Sure, thank you.
So mine, my clarion call is just to say, today we've not just talked, we have dared to imagine a new Africa, and not just today, but also for the last 2 days that we've been on this summit. So an Africa where policies are not just made for us, but with us. We are looking at where youth are not tokens in boardrooms. Sorry for that, just a minute. I'm talking about where young people are not just tokens in boardrooms, but we are trailblazers in leadership rooms. We are not the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of now. So this is our time to rise. This is our time to build. This is our time to disrupt. It's our time to demand. It's our time to lead. And therefore, the digital age is our playing field. And we must code, we must create, we must contribute to policies that reflect our generation's values and vision. As we walk out of this summit, at the end of it, let's not just live with hashtags and photos. Let's live with a mission. Let's take the ideas shared here and implement them in our countries, our counties, our communities, because if it doesn't work at home, it won't work in Africa. So we must start, they say charity begins at home. So let this summit be that finally turned momentum into a movement. Let us go forward, not as scattered voices, but as united African, a youth echoing one truth, that we will no longer wait for the seat at the table, but we are building that particular table, and that every nation must hear us knocking. So what I had just shared earlier on is that let us look into forming this particular watchdogs, policy watchdogs, and let us keep in touch, be able to see what progress has Ghana, what progress has Nigeria, what progress has Kenya done. And if you are also building on the same, what have they succeeded? Where have they succeeded that we are still working on, so that we could borrow from each other and also get that particular support, because information sharing and knowledge exchange is also one of the key things that is going to help us to achieve what we are looking for. It will be rather absurd to see other young nations where young people have actually put on a lot of efforts and they are succeeding on the same issue that other young people can also do somewhere, but they don't know how to begin. So reaching out is how we are going to be able to do this. And now AYES Summit has already created that platform. We don't need to go and now, begin from scratch. We just take it from here, move forward, and be able to create that particular network that can be able to help us to support our causes all through and achieve what we are looking for. Thank you so much, Ellie. Back to you.
YPK empowers young Kenyans like you with the skills and opportunities to become effective leaders. Engage in debates, workshops, and community projects that amplify your voice and vision. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Step up and be the change you want to see. Whether you're passionate about social justice, economic growth, or environmental sustainability, YPK is the platform where your dreams for Kenya can become reality. Join a network of ambitious, like-minded youth who are shaping Kenya's future. Your voice matters, and together we can build a better tomorrow. Visit our website or follow us on social media to learn more and sign up today. Be the change, shape your future. Join the Youth Parliament of Kenya now.